Welcome back to the channel. The Undertaker versus Sting. Who was the bigger legend and why? Let's break it down here, folks. Both these guys are legendary, but only one person is more legendary than the other. Sting was the man. Sting's been around a lot longer than The Undertaker, Mark Calloway. Sting was around when Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes, 1980s. This guy was the surfer. This guy was the blonde beach bodybuilder. He was like the original John Cena mixed with the Patriot, always representing USA, USA, USA. He was the icon before his time. In 1996, Sting changed into the black and white Sting, the Crow figure. At that time, he was already legendary. He was taking on a machine known as the NWO, New World Order, led by Hulk Hogan, Scott Hall, and Kevin Nash. This man would overcome, stand alone, with music that was quite eerie, with the crow, with the vulture. This man used to come down the ring. Everybody popped. This was WCW where the big boys played, where the big money was made. But back in WWE, where it was for the kids, it was the new youth, the new generation. The Undertaker would make a name. Debuting in the early 90s as the Great Undertaker, building popularity through his casket matches, buried alive matches, he transformed into the Purple Undertaker. In 1996, The Undertaker was still making his name. He was not the name that Sting was in 96. Sting was already self-certified. He is about 5 years older than The Undertaker and started 5 years earlier. Sting is more like the Ultimate Warrior, Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair. He's on that OG level, while The Undertaker was still a baby in the game, but in a few years he would get his due. The Undertaker was paying dues, defeating Kamala, Yokozuna, Diesel, Psycho Sid, but those names were nothing compared to Sting's opponents. Hollywood Hogan, Ric Flair. That list goes on. Macho Man, the older guys who had established themselves long before. The Undertaker was still wrestling Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart. The new youth. The Undertaker in about year 1999 to 2000 was what Sting was in 1996. And you could see what happened. The Undertaker was falling off. The ministry gimmick wasn't blowing up. He suddenly transitioned after being bored. After losing character, he changed his attire multiple times. Sting kept it. Sting changed to the Wolfpack Sting and also changed his attire, but he was always 1, 2, or 3 gimmicks, while The Undertaker changed into the American Badass. In the millennium started, The Undertaker changed. We got to see The Undertaker grow stale of his older character, and he was no longer the dead man. Could you imagine these two wrestling at that time? How eerie it would have been. If you actually compare Sting's music to Undertaker's music, you can hear Sting is really for the adults, the older crowd. His music is way more eerie and scarier. Undertaker's is more scary graveyard, but still kind of goosebumps, childish. If you wanted Are You Afraid of the Dark, you got Sting. You got the real deal. He was in a man's game over there where the big boys play. Where the kids were, Undertaker was scaring kids. But I guarantee you he would not have scared the NWO. Imagine Undertaker and Sting as tag team. That would have been pretty insane. 2 Undertakers? Sting is the Undertaker of WCW, and the Undertaker is the Sting of WWE. Sting would change to the Wolfpack character, become friendly, talkative. Undertaker changed his gimmick also, came back as the dead man. Whose legacy was greater? The Undertaker's known as a legend. Sting's known as the icon. Sting was a pioneer. A lot of people say Undertaker's bigger because his name was well known in WWE TV. bigger channels, not just deep south where WCW and Ted Turner was. Sting was made from WCW, and I believe he stayed local. But I believe he was the bigger star. Overall, Sting is legendary. The Undertaker's also a legend, but he is Junior Sting. He is always underneath Sting. He will always be younger than him and lack ring experience compared to Sting. Sting was certified. The Undertaker was learning from Sting. They were taking bits from each other, just like Stone Cold was taking from Bill Goldberg. It was like Shelbyville and Springfield, another parallel universe. How incredible as wrestling was in the 90s. My favorite time. Both these guys are dark, demeanor, but Sting doesn't come from the graveyard. Sting doesn't have a brother who lives in hell. Sting is a solo man up in the bleachers. We don't know where he's from. He's not from Death Valley. But a scorpion does indicate Death Valley because there's a lot of scorpions out in those deserts. Sting carried a ball bat, a baseball bat. The Undertaker carried an urn. The Undertaker had a manager, Paul Bearer. Sting didn't need anybody. Nobody was there for Sting. He was just one man versus 50 guys. And trust me, he cleaned house. Woo! It was Stinger. Who's the bigger star? Sting or The Undertaker? Leave your comment down below. Tell me what you guys really think. And make sure to like and subscribe for your latest wrestling news, discussions, and video gameplay. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. Wow.